let's start with a question. What is your penetration in the Israel market these days? How many cab rides you do out of the, or maybe start, how many are there actually?
Right. We started in Israel, so it's natural that we have 85% of the market here. But as any other market, we always had the tough competition and still have tough competition across all markets, including in Israel. We have here more than 4 players, including Uber and Yango and others, and same for any other country we operate. So it's not unusual.
So Gett is like a typical taxi hailing app, like an Uber. You started what year?
It was 2010.
2010, and they are in Israel, Russia, America, and the UK.
And UK, correct.
And tell me, what is like the differentiation of yours? You have a lot of corporates, I think. This is a...
That's right. We all started in the ride-hailing space, and now with the IPO of Lyft, I think there is a lot of interest and acknowledgement and appetite for the transformation that happens in our industry. But Gett from early days focused on, we are known for ride-hailing services, as you said yourself, and you can try and use us with a black cab in London and New York and Moscow and other cities. But very few people know that about 80% of our revenue is coming from corporate business. And corporate been always strong. We've been first in the world to launch corporate solution on demand. It was in 2011. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's happened in Israel, and Google was our first client. And since then, we have about 20,000 corporations using Gett for Business solution, and that's what really differentiates us and helped us to find our way to profitability and differentiation.
I don't know, who has checked the Lyft numbers, the latest IPO from America? It's amazing, huh? The more losses you do, the more valuation you get. It's strange. And then you're like, oh, it's probably all about unit economics. You try to understand the unit economics. They also don't look good. And then frustratedly you're saying, shit, I'm not in it, right? But this whole Lyft thing, right? I mean, it opened the eyes for many. When you saw the numbers and the outcome, what was your reaction? I have to go public ASAP?
Yeah, I think when many people saw Lyft numbers, it's actually raised many questions or supported some of the questions that the investors had in this industry is, can be the ride-hailing consumer in consumer space be ever profitable?
Yeah.
And I think it's a big question, and Lyft
and
numbers...
we know business models like Groupon back then, which was celebrated as the next multi-billion giant, and then everything collapsed because the marketing dollars were too high and they couldn't catch up. Is that something?
So I don't want to compare to Groupon, since the unit economics in Groupon indeed was negative, and still it's about 1-to-1. In ride-hailing it is about 4-to-1, but indeed the numbers shows that the higher the success, the bigger the losses, and it's not the best place to be. So in this regard, it did help us to look in our numbers that come in contrast to what you see in Lyft, where we, yes, improve in revenues, but equally improve in the bottom line, in EBITDA, and we plan to be break-even this year already. So it did help us to realize that...
What do your investors say about getting break-even?
Yes, indeed, it's not popular in our space, but I think more and more people and investors are looking at this stage to get into the company that has a differentiated and real business model that works. To your question, we did demonstrate that our business model of B2C and B2B is the one that actually drives both volumes and change the surface how people use transportation, both for consumer and corporate, but at the same time, it does generate revenues and it improves in the bottom line. And to your point about break-even, we've been saying that for years. I've been meeting investors and
point about
getting to the break-even
yeah.
and profitability. We've been meeting with investors for a while, and we've been saying, look in a different business model that Gett is developing.
So you're not burning any cash anymore?
We will get to the break-even, consolidated countries' EBITDA of break-even and even positive by the end of this year. So it will be really big milestone, but even more
And you're
important.
still growing?
And we're still growing healthy. Like for example, our B2B business grew up 63% year on year. And at that growth pace, to continue to improve the bottom line is indeed seems something like is very different from what we saw at least in the last public
Do
placement.
you think it's good to be public? Are you looking forward to be a CEO of a public company? Why would you go if you don't lose money anymore? You know, it's a lot of stress, a lot of reporting, scrutiny.
Right. I think our business stuff in general. So we're not unused to have a very strict financial controls, accounting, advanced accounting, quarterly reports. So this is not new. So we don't need to implement new measures.
Right.
And we've been doing this across.
So it's giving an exit to your investor space.
It gives the access to broader shareholder base, but equally important, I think with the corporate product that we have, and very few people really familiar with that, except of the 20,000 corporations that are using us. It gives us a fantastic platform to tell the world about the advancement in this space and actually get an access to the broader.
Okay, so it's public profile, it's good for the trust. And
indeed, it's being leader in the corporate space, again, privacy, security, public
billing
access.
is very important, I think, analytics.
All of those. It is a complex
You
space.
know, I
and
worked
not
for
easy one.
Lehman Brothers, and we had these fancy limousines driving us, and you know, when you're really cool, you let the car wait. That was like the mantra. And then one smart guy in headquarters New York calculated that Lehman Brothers spent $17 million for cars waiting. We call it the ego time. Yeah. This is all changed with apps like yours.
I love the example. What we call total cost of ownership is when the companies are not aware of the fact that people using it in such manner that there is some abuse, there is some inefficiencies. So of course, Gett, the first moment we are in, we help to reduce cost by lack of abuse, digitalization, and many other efficiencies that we put in immediately, with any technology. So yes, public space will help us to be a good platform to actually to tell about Gett and its different business model and how it might be helpful for the company like any investment bank or any other big corporation that are spending a lot actually on transportation. People are not aware that the corporate business spend about 30% of all rides that you have today. 30% of them are somehow related to corporates and paid by corporates. So it's a huge market.
Are you worried that your competitors enter the corporate market? I think Uber and Lyft, they do not really have like corporate products, really.
That's right. Look, nothing from what we do is rocket science. I think any startup eventually not doing rocket technology that cannot be copied or implemented. The reality is, though, that companies choose where they want to be the leader. And you don't find companies that are leader in both spaces. You need to make choices and trade-offs. And us choosing to be leader in the corporate space, and took us 10 years to get 12,000 clients. 12,000 clients, 10 years. And then last year, we added another 8,000. So it takes about so much time to build the right product.
And do you calculate something like share of wallet? Do you penetrate those accounts and you're starting with 5% of their rights and you see that you grow the share?
Corporate business is tough.
Yeah.
It's usually not scalable. It requires a lot of, again, privacy and security controls and a lot of integrations, things that you need to develop. And when you usually do that thing right, you end up, most of our accounts end up being 50% or 100% of the rights. But you start from from the tiny pilot, you say, give me some volume, I will show you what we can do. You know, anecdotally, it's not all of our clients, but one of the huge banks that have more than 300,000 employees give us a trial, and we saved them 44% on these 500 cars we replaced. And after that particular business case, they decided to replace all of the transportation solution by Gett. I'm not saying that all of the clients saving 44%, but usual case, we save between 10 to 15% from the overall check, including waiting times. And sorry, there will be less of those free waiting times with once the Gett platform is installed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I love your focus on the corporate world. You're in the toughest markets.
Yes.
And I wish you the best of luck. Dave came when you were like 16, 17 from Russia to Israel and became an entrepreneur at the Startup Nation. I think it's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.